There are two things firefighters dislike: the way things are, and change.
Sometimes traditional ways clash with the need for change.
That's where we come in.
Slicing through the noise with insights that matter.
Welcome to Igniting the Shift Within.
Your launch pad to revolutionize the way you think and work
And lead.
Welcome to Igniting the Shift Within. I'm David Dashinger, and today we're joined by Dr. Pamela Seraphine. She's a neuroscientist and author, and we're going to be exploring topics like brain optimization versus resilience training, numbing and emotional suppression, and the truth about suicidal ideation. And at the end, Dr. Seraphine is going to share 3 tactical takeaways that you can use to enhance your health, performance, and leadership. Quick bio: Dr. Pamela Seraphine is a renowned neuroscientist, musician, and expert in applied neuroscience for high performance and trauma recovery. As a sought-after coach, trainer, and keynote speaker, she educates individuals and organizations in high-stress industries on integrating a science-driven yet soul-centered approach to sustaining excellence and success. And she's the developer of applied neuroscience education for the Hope After Trauma Academy. And her distinctive approach to brain optimization and personal transformation is captured in her book, Neuromastery: Unlocking Your Brain's Potential for Lasting Success. So we'll be talking about all that and more. Dr. Seraphine, welcome to Igniting the Shift Within.
Thank you, David. I'm excited to have this conversation. I promise the listeners it's going to be a lot more exciting than what the title sounded like. Like good times are here. Suicide ideation. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah, and that topic's coming up a lot, so I think your timing isn't perfect with this. So before we dive into those topics, I just wanted to kind of, just to get the record straight, we hear a lot about the brain, we hear about the mind. So are those really the same thing? And if not, what's the difference? What do we need to know?
Well, that's a great starting point. No, they're not the same thing. Let's open the gate there, because this is, society has done such a disservice pushing this narrative about the mind. Now, it started with psychology, right? The study of the mind. But nobody knows the difference of the voices in their head, of that being their mind and their brain. So it causes so much confusion. So no, the mind is not the same thing. I always look at it as 4 distinct entities. Your brain is a physical entity, the subconscious. It's built with neurological wiring, think of it, and neurochemistry, where your soul, I always integrate the soul. Your soul is a metaphysical entity. It's the essence of who you are, your life force. And you cannot confuse the difference between your brain and your soul. But your mind is thoughts and images. And your body is a physical entity as well. So you've got to use your mind to change your brain. You've got to use your body to change your brain. And your soul is what commands the brain. Now, that's like such a complete different paradigm than what's out there. But that's the answer. And it comes down to brain mastery. There's no other choice.
Well, I love that you're bringing the body into the mix, because a lot of times we forget that we have one, right? That's involved in the whole.
Totally. You're so sold on the mind. You're just thinking you're all thoughts, and that's the narrative. Like, change your thoughts, like mindsets, everything. No, you know what everything is? Your brain. Everything you experience, every problem you have, it doesn't matter if it's with work, it's your supervisors, it's your wife, doesn't matter. It has to be processed through the brain. Mm-hmm. So if your brain is glitching, which it is, then you've got problems, and every problem is solved through your brain.
So interesting. So talk about brain optimization, because we throw around the term resilience all the time, but what is that? What does it mean to people like firefighters who are high stress, high stakes professionals?
Well, let me say this. Let me give you an analogy. It's my best one. I've got to lay it out there. So here's the analogy. It is if your profession is still working under the belief that the earth is flat. So every kind of training you have for optimal performance, optimal health, excellence, mental health is on that belief that it's mental toughness so you don't fall off the edge. Watch out for the edge. You got to be courageous because of the edge. Well, the world isn't flat. It's round. And you guys have been using, not only firefighters, I'm talking first responders, the wrong, broken, outdated model, an epically outdated model. Right? Because you're pushing the resilient narrative, but you guys are tough motherfuckers. You mastered it. Like, let's celebrate. You already tough. You're resilient. You can't do what you do without already doing that. But you're missing skills in how to harness the power of your brain, the full potential of your brain to excel with excellence and sustain success over time. That's what's missing. Those are different skills.
Mm-hmm. Can you give an example of what that might look like?
Well, sure. First of all, you got to realize you have the brain's doing it, right? That conversation that everything you experience, now chronic stress, it doesn't matter if you think you can, if you're tough, doesn't matter. Your brain's picking up. It's changing the structure, the functioning, the connectivity, the neurochemistry of your brain. Mm-hmm. There's no way around it. It doesn't matter if you think it doesn't. And so you're going to take that same brain everywhere you go. There's not like a compartment for, when you're at work, you use that brain and it's the same thing. So your problems, doesn't even matter what they are, your problems are still about you've got to understand how to maximize your brain, how to get it under control. Most people don't even know you can master your brain. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. 100. I don't teach anything that I haven't mastered. And I promise you that. I promise you that. And I have gone through the darkest days of hell. I have come from poverty and violence and the darkest of times, and I have learned how to retrain my brain and get it to work to my advantage. So the starting point is identifying the difference between your brain and your soul, because if you don't know you have a soul, you are going to suffer at an epic level. Now, let me say this, because when I talk about the soul because I know what it's like to feel like my soul dying. I know what it's like to have to sell my soul to survive and earn it back. So I speak at a very deep level. But if your listener, if they're not comfortable with soul, it's the conscious self. It's your true self, your authentic self, your spirit, your godlike self. Call it whatever you want. But you've got to separate it from your brain and your mind and your body, because it's not the same thing.
Well, let's move into something related to this, and that's you're touching on. It's high performance, right? That's where firefighters are tactical athletes, making quick decisions and taking quick actions, solving problems in real time in the moment. We're brilliant at solving these complex problems, right? But is there a myth about resilience or high performance you'd like to set straight that we didn't cover yet?
Well, that's the point. The high I'm all about high performance and excellence. You guys aren't average. You need elite training. You're getting average training about resilience as if you're just average people, professionals. And it's like, no, you've already trained your brain to go towards the danger. So it's possible. So it's not like this isn't a new epiphany here. It's like, well, it goes for everything then. Like everything is going to be related to that. It isn't a resilience problem. If you want high performance and sustaining it at the highest level, like I hope you guys are aiming for the top. Like you want to be the very best you could possibly be in all areas of life. None of this like, just at work and then your life's gone to shit. You want that. Right? And so that comes down to brain mastery. There's no separate, I can't say it anymore because I'm like, we're going to have the same problem. You're going to come see me years from now.
Okay. And then I want to talk about how we can stay but we do stay calm and stable like these emergencies, right? And that's probably same kind of idea, right? We've trained our brains to be able to do that.
Yeah.
We can be the difference in this chaos, a rapidly changing, emotionally charged situation. So that also involves a component of emotional suppression, right? Like we're kind of pushing down that fear, anxiety, and putting it somewhere else. What's the cost of doing that?
Well, another great question, because here's the thing. So your job requires that. That's admirable. I got great respect for that. You don't ever want to change that. You got to suppress your emotion. You got to master that. Okay. But here's the thing. In your brain, what that causes, there's an area called the insula. That area detects sensations. That's your internal sensations, interoception in your body. So when you suppress for long amounts of times, years after years, this area becomes dysregulated. So what happens is you can't feel the emotions. You're not feeling the physiological changes, not just at work. You're no longer experiencing emotions. So it's not like you're not talking about your feelings. You're not even experiencing them, which makes you go numb. That's the disassociation. Now that's what looks like toughness. You're like, oh, I can see anything. You know, I can see dead people. It doesn't bother me. Well, hello, you're numb. So it's not about not suppressing at work. You still got to do that. But you have to have strategies in place where you're aware of your internal sensations so that you can experience positive emotions at other times, right? Otherwise, you're going to have a major problem with depression and anxiety and so many relationship problems. You're headed towards a cement wall, right? Which is what has happened. Yeah. And then you think, no wonder there's corruption. They're not feeling anything. If you can't feel any kind of moral violation of your own morals, you're going to do anything. Your head's not attached to your body. So you've got to have things in place to attach your head back to your body.
And is the body numb as well? Are we kind of like losing touch with the emotions, or where we're feeling these things actually physically outside of our head? It's
physically. You're not physically feeling them. Because the emotions are physiological changes in your bodies. Feelings are the interpretation of the emotions, right? So when there's so much talk about your feelings, they're not feeling anything. It's not like you don't want to talk about it. You're legit not feeling. And then if you do, you can have a hyperreactive insula too, which is where the anger comes out, because you're not feeling it, and then out of nowhere it comes out. And you're like a different human being, right? You got no control, which is, once again, this is mastery. This is somatic mastery, which is part of brain mastery. It's part of it. It's one part of it that has to be dealt with.
Right. As we see people triggering, sometimes they can't figure out why. Like we don't know why we're triggering to anger, or something sets us off, and we're reacting in a way that's not really appropriate for the situation.
Yes, and then they blame themselves. Like, this is what they blame. Like, how could I have done that? I should know better. I should be tougher. It shouldn't bother me. Yada yada. It's like, well, your brain's processed it. You don't get that choice. Like, it's such an arrogant choice to think, well, I don't need to know about my brain. Well, it's going to torture you, and if it hasn't tortured you yet, you're headed towards it.
Okay, great. So let's shift gears a little bit and want to talk about suicidal ideation. Why do you think it's so prevalent? And we're obviously seeing lots of it in law enforcement, fire service. What are we overlooking?
You're overlooking exactly what I'm talking about. If you continue with this framework of the mental toughness is everything, then the people that are suffering behind closed doors, which is anybody with a brain, right? This isn't like, I'm always like, God, that's how self-righteous if you think it's not going to happen to you. If you have a brain, you are at risk, because when the brain can't compute anymore, or if it's malfunctioning, the very best thing it chooses you to do is to end your life. And now you've been taught that the voices in your head, that's actually yourself. And so your brain has now mimicked your soul. Because it's like saying, like, oh, no, it's a great idea. They end it now. right? And this is what is happening because nobody has learned that isn't that sounded, that voice in your head. That's not who you are. You're your soul. That's your brain fucking with you. And you've got to understand that that's your brain. And so what's happened is the high rates of suicide. Like I had one client, he's active military. He had 13 suicides with his 13 of his friends. That's mind blowing. Like that's crazy. It's the same thing. They thought they could just tough it out. Right? And they can't get rid of it. And it's like the whole time, it's like, no, that's not even them. That's your brain malfunctioning. And so that conversation has to be out in the open, not like only some people have suicide ideation. Are you kidding me? You're in the future. If you haven't dealt with suicide ideation, it's coming down the pipeline because human beings are going to experience that.
So in your work, especially going to focus a little bit on the Hope After Trauma Academy, let's say you come in contact with someone, firefighter, who is struggling with these challenges, could be the suicidal ideation, numbness, numbing out, just feeling like they're burnt. What kinds of things can you help them with? How do you help them?
Well, let me clarify here. So the Hope After Trauma Academy is an organization. I don't own that academy. I'm the creator of all the courses.
Okay.
And those courses are for certification courses for mental health professionals because they got a lot of the same problems. So I'm teaching them the same. And then first responders, there's some courses there too. So those are separate trainings.
Okay.
When I work one-on-one, when I'm working with, especially under neuromastery now, that's a whole different ballgame. I'm all about results. And this is the thing. This isn't about just, you're not talking about recovering from trauma. At no point did I ever want to recover from trauma or improve my mental health. I wanted to be the best in the world at what I do, at all things. And so everything's driven around what goals do you want to achieve and how do we get your brain on board and your soul in check to achieve what goals that is. And that's everything. That's what I work with. So very results driven.
Okay. Then people work with you virtually, in person. How does that work?
All virtually. I don't do any in person anymore. I'm actually, well, in 2025, I will. I'm booked solid until April. And then I'll be able to do more traveling and more speaking in that. But for now, it's all virtual.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you to offer a suggestion. Let's say we have a firefighter who feels like they're stuck, kind of in that, I just want to get through the next shift, go home, come back, do my next shift. They're kind of in that survival cycle.
Okay.
But if they want to thrive, what advice can you give them?
Well, I hope that's not happening. But if it is, let's start here. You've got to get control of your brain. You've got to use your soul. So call it what you want. And here's the thing. It's called a certainty list. Sounds very simple, but here's the thing. Get your brain to tell you 10 things that you're certain that you want. 10 things. No, your brain's going to tell you, I don't know what I want. This doesn't even sound, this won't even work for me. Yada, yada, yada. You get your brain to tell you 10 things and don't let it fool you, right? You use your soul. You're like, you tell me, motherfucker, you tell me 10 things. And you got to lean into your brain and force it to do that. And you will discover that if you force it to do what you say, it will do what you say. And it will, if you continue this, it will go more specific about what it is you want. And that's the starting of, hello, where you got any goals out there? You don't even know what you want, right? So that's something you should be doing all the time. Like get it to tell you and get it to do finer details. So that's one example that works like a charm.
Great. And some people name their brains.
Yeah. Well, they name motherfucker. That's what they name the guys I work with. And it's true though that you can't be nice to your brain. You nurture your soul, strengthen your soul, feed your soul, but your brain, no, it needs to be disciplined. And you got to call it whatever you want to call it, but make damn sure it's not controlling your life.
Let's talk about the book, Neuromastery, Unlocking Your Brain's Potential for Lasting Success. I know it's coming out very soon. Tell us about
Yes.
the book, the release, and everything else you want us to know.
Sure. So I'm really excited about the book. Now, I didn't write it for first responders specifically, but I deal with high performance. I don't care what you do for a living. These are the basics. Here's the framework. This is all what you have to know. And I created this methodology that gives you step by step. This is what you do. It's not full of all this. I don't do any fillers. I'm not a storyteller. So it's like, this is the framework. You can't go forward unless you have this. So I'm very excited about that book coming out, because I can't even have conversations with people. It's like, read the book first, come talk to me, and then we're on the same page. It's like, you're a little behind, right? It's time to update. So I'm really excited about that. That comes out December 3rd is the launch.
Okay. And where can people find it?
Amazon. It'll be available anywhere worldwide, but Amazon is probably the easiest way to pick up that book. Yeah.
All right. And we like to include 3 tactical takeaways people can use, actionable items that can enhance leadership, life, performance, anything like that. What do you want to share?
Okay. Well, I gave you the certainty list. So if I do any more top down, so that's considered top down. That's using your mind to change your brain. Mm-hmm. So let's do bottom up, using your body to change your brain. Now, it's going to be a little hard. Well, if you're just listening, but if you can see me, let me give you a rhythmic strategies. Now, the use of rhythm has been around since the beginning of time. This isn't like, we know what it does to the brain, so don't overlook this. But to reset your nervous system, you've got to get back into your body. Like I said, right? An easy one to do is the 4-minute habit, although very challenging, let me tell you. And all it is a 4 count. And you're going to do it on your body. You don't have to have a drum or a table, do it anywhere. But you're going to accent on 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Accent on 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You play it on your body. Good luck trying to do that and think of anything else. It will lock you into your body. You can't go anywhere else. Right? You can't think of anything else. It's going to entrain into your body, and you just do that. The goal is 4 minutes. Good luck on 10 seconds. That's how difficult it is. So a perfect thing to do, especially if you're dealing with anxiety. Like, perfect.
That's so great. Yeah, I think any tool like that helps us get into our body in the present moment is golden. Okay.
Yep.
What else?
And I'll give you another one. At the end of the day, don't go to bed and let your brain just do whatever it wants. That's a terrible idea. You did that. Now, in the book, I give you other strategies, but I'll give you this one. 5 wins. And you get your brain to tell you. An insight win. What did you learn today? Don't stop until that damn brain tells you what you learned. What action win. What did you do towards your goals? Right? 1 soul care win. What did you do to feed your soul strength? Did you know you had a soul today? Because it was with you. Top down win. Did you use your mind to change your brain? Bottom up win. Did you use your body to change your brain? That's 5 wins. Your brain has to be rewarded. That's where the dopamine is going to come in. You're actually controlling it. So you're like, hey, I did this, dopamine, because now it's being rewarded. Like, your brain's like, oh, did you do that? Yes, you did. Here you go. Right? So you're gamifying your life is what you're doing. You're getting your brain to work to your advantage. And that's really what it comes down to. So those are 3 good. You got to try them, you guys. You got to try them, because I know when people try them, because they come back and they're just thrilled.
Oh yeah. I'd love to hear those stories. And
right?
I wanted to touch on something you said there, because one of the topics that we've been talking about is that when you retire from first responder world, especially firefighters, they were no longer getting some of those the positive endorphin dose. And that could come from just helping somebody, seeing the result, being of service. So I love the fact that you've got a technique, that kind of inventory at the end of the day, where you're enabling a nice positive endorphin release before you go to bed.
Yeah, and there's more. I mean, the whole methodology of the neuromastery is is for any situation like that. You can't just retire and just think nothingness. Your brain will torture you. You've got to have a framework that is pushing you forward to the next level. Whatever it is you want to do, you still have to have your brain under control, and you still have to be nurturing your soul.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as we were talking about, you're going from that high stakes, work mode to now you're not doing those emergency calls. You're not responding lights and sirens. You're not going to be
and you wonder why you're depressed. Of course you're depressed. Of course. Like, it's guaranteed. Like, there isn't it. Like, that's not even up for debate. Right? Exactly. It's like, oh no, you're going down. If that's your plan, you're going down in flames. So yes, sirree. So get it under control. And now that you have, you at least you hear my voice. Now you know this exists. And if you know it exists, that means it's your personal responsibility to follow through with it.
Well, you said a lot there in a short amount of time, and I'm looking forward to unpacking all of it. Dr. Seraphine, where can people find you?
Oh, and drpamelaseraphine.com. You can find me there. Maybe you'll probably have my name in the show notes, right? So they can look it up. That'd be great.
Yeah, we put it on the screen.
Okay, perfect.
And then the book is available on Amazon after December 3rd. And the concept you have, the strategies, the way you're redefining things that we've kind of just accepted for a long time, and the fact that there is a mind, a brain, a body, and all of them need to be tended to and acknowledged.
And the soul, David.
The soul. Can't forget about the soul.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I really appreciate it. I hope we have many more talks.
That would be wonderful. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, expertise with us. And just want to remind everybody, you can find us right now our website is podpage.com/igniting for igniting the shift within. And you can also find us through Firefighter Nation channels. Stay safe, take care of yourself and everyone else. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
There are two things firefighters dislike: the way things are, and change.
Sometimes traditional ways clash with the need for change.
That's where we come in.
Slicing through the noise with insights that matter.
Welcome to Igniting the Shift Within.
Your launch pad to revolutionize the way you think and work
And lead.